just go back to the Zoom meeting. Right, okay. So, hello there. Susie very kindly invited me to speak to you about dowsing. Now, before I start, probably the order to find out how many of you have done some dowsing and how many of you are complete beginners? Sort of.
That's two questions that are different.
Yeah, okay.
I've done some, but I'm not a beginner.
Who's done a bit? Just put your hand up. Okay, who's never done any? 3. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start working with those who have never done any, so sort of get everyone off the ground. What I'm going to show you may be a bit different from what you do anyway. Okay, I think we're just going to work with pendulums today. I've got some rods here, but rods I've discovered on Zoom don't really work. Need the perspective to be able to, and when you start walking around, then you know, nobody can see anything that's going on. So I think we're just going to work with the pendulums today, but I will leave you a few rod exercises you can have a go with for yourselves. Okay, so just a bit of an introduction. My name's Chris Quartermaine. I've been dowsing since well, actually started when I was about 14. That's a very long time ago. When I was 14, and I found this book in the local library which explained how to do dowsing. It was by a man called T.C. Lethbridge. And in those days, when you dowse it over a piece of metal, and here's a pendulum here.
Are you recording, Susie?
Yeah, so the pendulum here, depending on the length of the pendulum, that would indicate what kind of metal you're dowsing over. So what I used to do is every morning I put loads of different kinds of metal into plasticine, jumble them all up so I didn't know which one was which, to see if I could dowse accurately to see which metal was which. And I had the strange experience that the first time I did it every day, it worked. But after that, it didn't work. And I then sort of, you know, life took over as it does when you're 14. I didn't really look at it dowsing for about 20 years, but I've now been dowsing about 30 years. And I've been teaching dowsing for 10 years. I'm based in Chester. So I don't know, are you all sort of from all over the place? Yeah. So is anybody from my part of the world, the Northwest? No. Okay, so I'm an outsider here. So I'm actually just inside Wales. So we've been teaching dowsing at our house for about 10 years. We normally get about 10 people come to our conservatory, and we teach them how to get going with dowsing. When they've done that, we invite them to come and do 3 other courses that we run, and I'll cover those in brief detail later. One is about chart dowsing, one is about house dowsing, and one is about energetics, which you might call it personal health dowsing. Okay, but it's not about conventional health, a bit more alternative than that. So I'm going to start with the pendulum. Okay, now if I hold the trouble with Zoom is that you can't really see what the pendulum's doing, in my experience. But the normal way to dowse is to have the pendulum going away from you and towards you. How many of you actually got a pendulum with you? Has anyone not got a pendulum?
May I just go and grab it? I didn't bring it through with my laptop.
Absolutely. Far away. Okay. I'll just wait for Susie. What have you got there? Oh, oh, that's a wand. Jean's got a wand. I'll just wait for 2 secs. While we're just waiting, the pendulum the idea of the pendulum is to respond to your subconscious. Okay, so dowsing is all about talking to your subconscious. So I presume you're all aware that we have a subconscious mind, and then behind the subconscious mind is our higher self, and behind the higher self we have what some people call the field, some people call universal consciousness, whatever you want to call it. I call dowsing Googling the universe. Okay, so dowsing is all about information. It's not a healing process, it's an information process. It's finding out what's going on by asking questions. So we'll just all start with let's see, those who have dowsed, we'll just do, how many of you use a clockwise, anti-clockwise method for doing, you could be either yes for clockwise or yes for anti-clockwise, but how many people do that? Does anybody use the up and down and sideways method? One there. Oh, there's two there. Yeah, okay. I teach the clockwise, anti-clockwise method. It's important to understand that you can change your dowsing response anytime you want. You're not prey to whatever happens. If you ask yes and it goes a particular way, it doesn't mean that that has to be your yes. You can always change your yes to be anything you want it to be. You're in charge of your pendulum, okay? So the way I would normally start dowsing is to put yourself in neutral, which is up and down, okay? So just get your pendulum in neutral. Susie, I wouldn't have it that long. I'd have it quite a bit shorter than that, okay? Again, Colette, I wouldn't have it anything like as long as that. Okay, that's perfect, okay. Tracy, I wouldn't have it hanging over your finger because that can actually affect the way the pendulum responds, okay? So you're going to have the bits, the top bits of your pendulum are kind of in your hand, okay? Right, so you put it into neutral and then you simply say, please show me my yes. Okay, now my pendulum, you probably can't see it very clearly, my pendulum is now going clockwise. Okay, those of you who have not done it before, are you getting a response? No, so Joe's not getting a response. Linda? Yeah, you've got a response. So Joe, this is quite useful for everyone. You got a response now, have you? Okay, perfect. Right, so put yourself back into neutral and then say, please show me my no. And it should go anti-clockwise or clockwise, whichever is the opposite of what you've just done. So how many people, can you put your hand up if you've got a different yes from your no? Right, so Tracy, are you okay? No, nothing, right, okay, right. So for the benefit of Tracy and for everybody else, Tracy, I want you to put it back into neutral and give it a good swing, okay? Okay. And now say, show me my yes. I don't think you were giving enough energy, okay? And perhaps you could have the string of the pendulum quite a bit shorter. That's it. Say, show me my yes. Right, okay. So you're not getting a response. That's very normal. A lot of people don't get a response. So what you do then is you actually instruct your pendulum how you want it to work, okay? So Tracy, can you deliberately swing it clockwise? Okay, and say, this is my yes. Okay? And now deliberately swing it anti-clockwise and say, this is my no. So what you've done is you've instructed your subconscious that that is your response. Okay. So now put yourself back into neutral. And then say, show me my yes. There's something happening, but only very slight. Right, okay. So what can happen is everybody can dowse. It's just a matter of repeating that instruction. So put it into clockwise, say, this is my yes. You just keep doing that until your subconscious understands what's going on, okay? Dowsing is very much like riding a bicycle, okay? When you first get on a bike, it's really hard. You keep falling off. But once it's gone into your subconscious, you never forget it, okay? It's always in there, all right? So that's how dowsing works. So once you've got your yes and your no, you're a dowser, you're away, okay? So I'm just going to show you one or two extra little bits to be aware of. Let's say, for example, you've got a bottle, it's empty, but I've got a bottle of multivitamins here, okay? So I'm going to dowse. Would it be to my highest benefit to take this multivitamin, okay? And I dowse it, and it says, yes, but. And the yes, but is like an oval, where my yes would be like a circle, okay? I hope I can tell you this. It's very hard. There's a yes, and this is a yes, but. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. And a no, but is the opposite, okay? So if I'm asking about these multivitamins and it says yes, but, it means they're good, but they're not the best thing for you. Okay, so a yes, but gives you extra information over and beyond no and yes, right? The other thing to be aware of is your neutral position. If you're dowsing and you start in the neutral position and it stays in the neutral position, okay, that response is called the stupid question response. Okay. The reason is because when you ask a question with dowsing, sometimes the question doesn't make any sense. Let's say, for example, the petrol gauge in your car is broken, and you want to know whether you need to fill up again. So you say, does my car need petrol? Okay. Well, obviously your car needs petrol. Your subconscious is very logical. If you say, does my car need petrol? The answer is yes, but that's not what you meant. But what you meant isn't what the pendulum is responding to. It's responding to the actual words and the phrasing of the question, okay? A similar question might be, do I need some vitamin C? Of course you need vitamin C. It's do you need more vitamin C? It's a matter of rephrasing the question to make sure that you're clear with your questioning, okay? Right. So the next stage is to look at how to get your dowsing to be accurate. And there are two very important factors in making sure that your dowsing is accurate. You are talking to your subconscious, but in order to talk to your subconscious and ultimately to the whole universe, you need to be open. Okay. So how many people, put your hand up if you're very, very intuitive? No, 2 or 3. Yeah. Okay. People who are very intuitive are open. Okay. It's a bit like being in the house and opening all the windows in the house. Okay. So when you're open like that, everything can come in. All the bees and the ants and the flies and the birds, the pigeons, they could all fly into your house, okay, because everything is open. All right. which is why we need to do something called protection. Now, how many people do a regular protection? One or two. Okay. So I'm going to run through a protection exercise. And my recommendation is that every time you dowse, in fact, for those who are very intuitive, you should always be using protection. You should never go out into the world without protection, because people who are intuitive are more likely to end up in mental hospital than people who aren't intuitive, because you're too open and there's too much stuff out there which can actually get to you. Okay, so I'm going to do a little protection exercise. Those who already do a protection exercise, you may find that what I'm doing is a bit different from the way you do it. There's no right or wrong. There's only just a way to do it. So can you all close your eyes? And can you imagine yourself sitting where you are, completely surrounded by a beautiful golden egg? The golden egg goes over your head, under your feet, completely surrounds you. There is no part of your body that is not inside this golden egg. Now, this golden egg is made from very special material, which will prevent any harmful, malicious, mischievous, negative energy from coming into your system. However, it is like a filter, and it will allow any energy which is positive, good, helpful, or even angelic to come straight in with no blockage whatsoever. So you are now sitting in your beautiful golden egg, and you are now 100% protected. And open your eyes when you're ready. Okay, so this is going to be your first unknown. Okay. Put my pendulum down. Here you go. So I want you to pick up your pendulum and ask, am I now 100% protected? You're getting a response, Tracy. Working. Is everyone 100% protected? Yeah. No. Okay, it happens. So if you do a protection exercise and you get no, you simply repeat until you are. Okay, it's very simple. Just. Oh, Nikki, you're saying you're not getting a response at all? Oh. Ah, okay. Have you not got the yes and no yet? Yes, you have. Okay, but you're not. Are you getting a yes or no? You're getting just up and stupid question, right? Got you. Okay. So you might need to rephrase that question in your mind to say, am I at least 90% protected? Okay. Is different ways, huh? Yeah, good. Tracy says, I'm guessing yes, but I think.
I actually find I don't need any protection.
Yes.
And so I just asked that, do I need protection? It said no.
Oh, perfect.
Because
okay.
I'm so grounded.
So you're grounded. Well, I was about to do grounding exercise next. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Bernard, for that. Okay. Yeah. So to be honest with you, that whole exercise you can do in about 5 seconds flat. You don't need to actually concentrate and do all this imagination. I do the whole preparing for dowsing. It takes me about 15-20 seconds to do it every morning. Okay, so it's one of those things that once you do it regularly, you don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but you do need to use your dowser just to check that you are 100% protected. Okay.
Yes, could I ask a question?
Yes, go on in, please.
I asked it if I was protected, and it said yes, but it wasn't a very enthusiastic yes. So I said, "Do I need more protection?" So it said yes. Now, if you keep doing this protection regularly, does that strengthen, do you think?
Yes, it will do, because I mean you've only just done it for the once, so yeah, for sure. So usually it's good to do it every day. Okay. Overnight, you need to, in the morning, you need to reprotect yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I think it could be really useful.
Yes.
Thank you for the reminder.
So I usually recommend that everybody does the grounding and protection when you're brushing your teeth, or just part of a morning routine to do that. Somebody just asked about in the middle of the night if you're wide open. Okay. This is what I'm showing is all about preparing to dowse, but you do need to shut yourself down afterwards. Okay. You need to, when we finished, do remind me when we finished, we'll do a shutting down exercise as well. Okay. So when you finish doing your dowsing session, you shut yourself down. Again, it takes a few seconds to do that. Okay. Right. So let's do a bit of grounding now. So my grounding exercise is using a tree. Okay. So there are lots and lots of grounding exercises, which are, and there's no right or wrong again. So can you just all close your eyes and picture that you're a tree and your branches are waving around in the wind. You can wave your arms around if you like, but it's mainly the roots that we need to look at. So I want you to picture your roots going down into the ground and spreading out a long way around. So there's some noise there somewhere. Hello? Tracy, I think you're on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So your roots are going all around you, and they're so strong and so powerful that even the strongest wind cannot blow your tree over. However, some of those roots go down through the rocks all the way down to the center of the earth, and you are now 100% grounded. And open your eyes when you're ready. Right, so pendulum's up. Am I now 100% grounded? Is anybody not grounded? Again, if you're not 100% grounded, re-ground yourself. Okay. What I tend to, a lot of the dowsing I do is actually on the phone with people, and sometimes, like after about half an hour of working with somebody, I find I might lose my grounding, and it becomes very obvious. I start getting nonsense answers. So then I re-ground myself, and then I'm back to where I should be. Okay. So re-grounding yourself is quite important. So why do you ground yourself? You ground yourself because when you're connected to the earth, then you're connected to the whole universe. You're not aware with the fairies, you're connected. And how can I put it? Your grounding connects you to the earth, and that connects you to the universal consciousness. Okay, so that's very important. So having got this far, I don't need to teach you anymore. You're all dowsers now. Okay. So I'm just going to discuss a little bit about one or two things that can go wrong. Very important to understand, and a few no-nos. Okay. So the biggest no with dowsing is never dowse the future. Okay. If you could, I'd be very wealthy. Okay. I could win the lottery, I could go to the bookies, but money on a horse, a dowse, I would say, said, this is definitely going to win. No. If you go to the bookies, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but if you go to the bookies, there's a horse which is racing and it has odds. Let's say it's 10 to 1 to win this particular race. Okay. So that is like you can call that a 10% chance of it winning the race. Okay. So that is the probability of it winning the race. All futures are only probabilities. Okay. You can't go to Madam, whatever her name is, Gypsy at the fair, and she says, you're going to meet a dark, handsome stranger. That's not necessarily going to happen. There's only a probability of that happening. The future is not set in stone. So therefore, you cannot dowse the future because the future hasn't happened yet. All right. So any question that you have about the future needs to be couched in a sort of like a present thing, like, would it be to my highest good if I went to this meeting tomorrow? All right. Would it be to my highest good to buy this house? Would it be to my highest good to whatever it is you're going to be doing? Okay. Or you could ask the probability, and to do a probability, that is the point at which we need to learn how to do calibration dowsing. So I'm now just going to take you to the next step, which is to be able to extend your dowsing into a calibration. So let's go back to this bottle of vitamins here. So if I wanted to say, how beneficial would these vitamins be to me? I could easily do this with a pendulum. In this particular case, you only have neutral and a yes, okay? So we're going to judge that bottle of multivitamins for me out of 10. So I'm going to ask, is it 0 to 10? Okay, so I'm going to do that now. So I've got the bottle of vitamins here, and I'm going to dowse as a benefit to me. Is it 0, +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, +7? I'm getting +8. Can you see it going around at +8? Okay, so that's how you do calibration dowsing. You simply put yourself into neutral and count from 0 to 10 and see where the yes comes through. That will then give you your calibration. Okay, does that make sense? So if you were going to do a percentage, you do the same thing there, but instead of doing 0 to 10, you do 0 to 100. You say 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, etc. Let's say it's 20 to 30. You then say, is it 20, 21, 22, 23, 24? Okay, so that kind of thing, that's how you actually get a percentage probability. So because I'm a house dowser, I work a lot with houses. A lot of people ask me, for example, will I sell my house within the next 6 months? So I will dowse the probability of their selling their house within the next 6 months. And that, let's say it's 53%. So there's that for them, they say, well, it's got a chance of selling. Okay. So that's a way to put a percentage and use the percentage as part of your dowsing. Okay. So what can you use your dowsing for? Well, a lot of people use it just to decide on making decisions. Okay, so would it be a good idea for me to go to this meeting? Would it be a good idea for me to attend this Zoom call? Should I marry this girl or this fella, or whatever the questions are, you can use this method to dowse for the likeliest, the best thing for you. I always use that phrase, to my highest good, when I use a question. So, to my highest good, shall I go to this meeting tomorrow? Okay, is much better than shall I go to this meeting tomorrow? Okay. In fact, that I've just realized that I said, shall I go to this meeting? That kind of implies, am I going to go to the meeting, doesn't it? It's more like, should I go to the meeting? Would it be a good idea? Okay, you need to put some doubt into the question. Okay. Right. So what can you do else with the dowsing? So you can use it for health. For example, you go to the supermarket. A lot of people aren't very confident, that don't like picking up a pendulum in the supermarket. Okay. I'm going to cover in a minute, I'm going to cover some deviceless dowsing to help you if you don't really want to be picking up your pendulum over the apples in the supermarket. There are ways to use deviceless dowsing to get around that. Okay. But let's say you're in the supermarket and you picked up your pendulum, you simply ask a question. It says these are organic. Are they actually organically grown? Question. And the answer will be yes or no. Okay. So there might be it might be slightly organically grown. There may be partially organic, but some of it is not, for example. So then you might quite likely to get a yes, but or a no, but. Okay. All right. So then there's other questions you can ask. For example, am I allergic or sensitive to wheat or whatever, eggs? You know, you can ask all these questions. You get up in the morning and you're not feeling very well. Okay, what's wrong with me? Okay, can you actually ask that question as a dowser? No. It's not a yes and no question, okay? So if you have a question like that, then you have to write down all the possibilities that might be wrong with you. You've got the flu, you know, you've eaten something you shouldn't have done, whatever it is. You write down all the possibilities, and then you dowse down the list to see which one actually goes along with what's wrong with you, okay? So that takes me neatly onto chart dowsing. Just bear with me a second. There we are. So this problem with not being able to ask a question of what's wrong with me today is actually a fundamental dowsing problem. Okay. And to overcome it, we have what are called dowsing charts. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. You probably, excuse me, my case didn't hold the thing. So can you see those charts there? Try and hold it still. Okay, that is what's called a master chart. There are something like 40 different, that we call them petals. Okay, you call them sections. Okay, and what you do is you dowse over the chart, and your pendulum, you ask a question, the pendulum will swing to whichever petal is the relevant one. Okay, so you can see this is a master chart. This covers everything. So my question is, what's wrong with me today? Okay, so I'm going, and the answer I'm getting is it's gone to the well-being chart. So I'll just go back. So when I press, if I can see what I'm doing, the well-being chart there, it switches to a different set of charts. Can you see? And each of these different, so if I press balance these elements, so that takes me to elements chart. Okay, and there are actually 99 charts on there that you can use, and by using the charts and connecting with your higher self to get accurate answers, you can actually help people with the issue that's coming up, or even for yourself. Okay, so that's chart dowsing. So if you're interested in chart dowsing, I actually run a chart dowsing course. In fact, I did a Zoom course only last week with a couple of people teaching chart dowsing. If anybody's interested in learning chart dowsing, you're more than welcome to come back to me, and we can run the course for you. Okay, so that's something there's a lot to it. This system I've got here is not a system I could sell, but I can teach because it is copyrighted. but I can teach you how to create your own charts using a web. You might want to write this down. A website called Subtil, Subtil. Okay. And if you go on to Subtil, if you Google Subtil and then the word dowsing, you'll get straight in there. Okay. You create an account, and then you log in, and then you'll see on there's about 100, 200 different kinds of charts for practically everything, from astrology, Bach flower remedies, chakras, meridians, everything you can possibly imagine is on there. And when you create a login, if you find a chart that you like, you can save it to your own dowsing charts, and then you can also print them off and use them for your own dowsing. Okay. And part of the chart dowsing course is learning how to use Subtil and get the most out of it. Okay. Well done. Thank you, Richard. Right. So chart dowsing is one aspect of dowsing. We'll just something I didn't mention earlier, which really is very, very important, is that most people dowse for themselves. Okay. In fact, you are the hardest person to dowse for. All right. I'll give an extreme example. Okay. So don't take this personally, but let's say I'm asking the question, have I got cancer? Okay. Do you think you could get an accurate answer by asking that question? What do you think? No. The reason is because you can actually affect the pendulum. You can actually make the pendulum go yes or no if you wanted to. Okay. Even subconsciously, you might do it. And the art of dowsing is to get yourself out of the way. And that takes quite a lot of experience to be able to dowse for yourself and get yourself out of the way, so that you're not actually affecting the pendulum. So as a beginner, you'll find it quite difficult to do that. But the more you dowse, the easier it becomes to actually dowse for yourself. However, there are certain instances that make it very difficult to dowse for yourself, okay, when you're too emotionally involved in the answer. So what I usually recommend is people have dowsing buddies. Yes, Nikki.
Is that the same if you think you know the answer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I've lost you there. Yes, absolutely. So if you're expecting a particular answer, it'll probably say yes. Okay, so that's the way it works. And that's one of the biggest pitfalls with dowsing, is actually to be influencing and causing the pendulum to give you the answer that you want. Okay. Someone I was teaching the other day kept getting, I said, I've got a particular chart. You may have heard of it. It's called the State of Consciousness chart, based on the book by David Hawkins called Power versus Force. And on there, you can dowse your state of consciousness from a state of shame to the state of fully enlightened. And she dowsed it and said she was fully enlightened. So I thought, well, I'm not sure about that one. So that was her influence. She thought, well, I must be fully enlightened. So, but that was her influence causing her to come up with that answer. So it does take quite a lot of practice to get yourself out of the way. But if you can get a dowsing buddy, for example, my wife and I both dowse. Jen, is that your son? You be your dowsing buddy. Oh, yes, children are brilliant dowsers. They're fantastic dowsers, much better than we are. Don't have the staying power, but they're brilliant dowsers. So, yeah. Right. Okay, so that's chart dowsing. The next thing I'm going to talk about is house dowsing. So I don't know if you know, but houses can actually hold some very negative energies. I learned how to dowse through this book. This is Heal Your Home by Adrian Incledon Weber. Okay. This is Adrian is actually the guy that taught me how to dowse. He lives up in somewhere near Richmond, North Yorkshire. and he does courses all over the country as well. But I teach his method of house dowsing. How many of you heard of divorce houses? No? Okay, so Susie has, right? Okay. So what can happen is that a young couple move into a house. The house is carrying a lot of negative, what we call geopathic stress. The geopathic stress causes the couple to break up. So they break up, the house comes back on the market, another young couple comes in, buys the house, moves in, then they break up because of the geopathic stress in the house, and then the house comes back on the market and again and again. And this is what Adrian had. Adrian had a very successful estate agency business in Surrey. And he came across this phenomenon and he was very curious about it, and he learned how to dowse. And he was so fascinated by the whole thing, he actually he gave up his agency, became a full-time dowser. So that was the story that comes out of that. So house dowsing is a very important thing. I have a right. So this is I could call it a chart. It's actually a list. There's no difference really between a list and a chart. This is my list of 28 things that can go wrong in a house. Okay. Obviously ghosts, things like earth energy lines. That's probably the commonest thing. You get a negative energy line going through a house, which causes it, particularly if it's going through where you're sleeping. Negative energy line could cause you to sleep badly. It can actually cause you to get ill. I don't know if you know, but your body tends to do a lot of its healing at night while you're asleep. It's when the immune system comes in and fixes things in your body. But if you're sleeping on a geopathically sensitive spot, your immune system isn't able to do its job properly, and therefore your body doesn't heal properly, and your body can eventually gradually go downhill. Okay. So earth energy lines are very important. You get a lot of spirals in houses, and you also get human conflict or emotional energy areas. These are areas where somebody's had a row in the past. It might be from before you bought the house, and that somebody before you bought the house had a row in a particular spot. It might have been a couple and they made it up the next morning, but the effect of that row is still there. Okay, so you get these emotional energy areas. Other things like bad news, particularly on mobiles these days, you can have bad news anywhere. And so somebody sitting on the stairs might have some bad news, and then you get a really bad vibe on the stairs. Okay. Technopathic stress is very important. Technopathic stress is caused by modern technology. And that's one of the hardest things for me to clear. I can clear most things, but technopathic stress is quite hard to resolve. In fact, it's the only thing when I do a house, this technopathic stress is the only thing that I can't heal remotely. Okay, most of the houses I work with, I don't even visit. I work off a plan. But technopathic stress, I can't even remotely. I cannot clear it. I usually recommend something called shungite. How many people know about shungite? There's a few. Most of you do. Can you see that? That's a very large piece of elite shungite. Okay. Shungite needs to be elite. Shungite, if you don't know what shungite is, it's a form of carbon. This, for example, is elite shungite. This is 98% carbon, mainly graphite, but within that is a particular form of carbon called C60 or fullerene. Fullerene is like C60 is a molecule of carbon made of 60 carbon atoms in a ball. It's very, very stable. And it has these fantastic properties of protecting from EMFs. So I always recommend you get a nice piece of elite shungite, you put it on your router, There we go. You got one there. Right, I've got one of those somewhere. Lovely. Okay, there's one there. Okay. However, when I first came across Shungite, I bought this pyramid, and I kept it on the router. And a friend who was very psychic came into my office one day and said, "There's something really negative in your office." So what on earth could be? So I went all around, and to my amazement, it turned out to be this. It was actually causing a lot of negativity in my office. So it's actually a bit like, you know how crystals can get dirty? Okay, so it's a bit like that with this. This is made of what's called intermediate shungite. See this shungite here, you couldn't make it into anything. It would just shatter into pieces. Okay, because it's 98% carbon, there's no structure there to work with. So you can't make, so anything that's been made like this is only intermediate shungite. It'll be something like 70% shungite. So it's got 30% impurities. Those impurities can actually pick up negative energies. So you need to, if you have intermediate shungite, you need to cleanse it regularly. Okay. So I think that takes me neatly onto using the rods. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, it's not very practical to do, as I said, to do any rod exercises. How many people have got some rods? One. Okay. So you can easily make your own rods. Sorry, Susie.
Well, I've got a couple of wire coat hangers that I've bent into L's.
Right. Yes, that's absolutely perfect.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yes, you can. Yeah, you need two coat. You have to use two different coat hangers for the two rods. Okay. So I'm going to try and demonstrate. It's very difficult to actually demonstrate on Zoom, but so you hold it like that, so you don't put your thumb on them. Okay. So you just have the thumb down by the side, and you create, like all dowsing, you create the intention in your mind. So if you're walking along with no thought in your mind, what the rods do is entirely meaningless. Okay, just remember that. Okay, so you create the intention of whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for underground water, for example, then the rods should cross when you've walked over the water. Okay. If you're looking for earth energy lines have a thickness. Sometimes they could be 10, 12 feet wide. So it depends whether you're looking for the center of the energy line or the edge of the energy line. Typically, if you find an energy line, you're asking in your mind, please cross when we reach the edge of the energy line. They'll cross, and then as you walk along, they'll stay crossed, and they'll open up when you get to the other edge of the energy line. Okay, so that's how that works. The practical I'm going to give you, and I do recommend you have a go with this. To make some rods out of a coat hanger, you simply make them into just a simple L shape like that. Okay. The only trouble with coat hangers I find is that the metal is actually too thin. And if you've got fairly big hands, you'll find that it's very thin. It's actually quite hard to get a clear response. So these are good quality rods, and they're the sort of thickness you really want. Okay. If you're interested in buying rods, I have some for sale. Well, there's actually a friend of mine, Ken Middleton, who actually makes them himself. He calls himself Living Water. I simply buy mine from him. So, so if you're interested, I can send you his details. So the dowsing exercise I'm going to recommend, you need two people. So you need the dowser and the person being dowsed. And the idea is to measure the size of their outer aura. Okay. Now, I'm sure you all know about auras, being the group you are, but auras, they're usually considered to be 7 auras. And the outer aura is typically between 1 meter to 2 to 3 meters wide. Okay. The aura is a reflection of your mental, physical, and spiritual health. So if you're not feeling very well, if you're a bit depressed, or just whatever it is, and your aura is quite short, you can actually expand your aura by thinking positive thoughts. Okay. So what you're going to do, you're going to walk towards your partner, and you're going to be start standing about at least 10 foot away, just to make sure you're outside the aura so you're walking along, and create an intention in your mind. I want the rods to cross when I reach the edge of my partner's aura. And you should find them crossing at that point. Then you make a little mark on the floor, leave a piece of paper or something on the floor just to show where it was. Then you ask your partner to think sad or angry thoughts, and you should find that their aura will contract. Okay. And then you ask them to think happy thoughts, and then you should find that the aura will expand. Okay. So that way it gives you a test, see how accurate your dowsing is. Okay. You could even, by sneaky, you could ask your partner to think either happy or sad thoughts, and then measure it and see if you can find out what they're thinking. Okay, so there's a little test for you. Okay, if you're interested in taking it any further, and you get hold of some shungite, put my phone down somewhere. You got a mobile phone? Well, let's pretend this is a mobile phone. Okay. I did show it before. So if you hold your mobile phone to your heart like that, okay, and then somebody comes towards you, you'll find that your aura will shrink dramatically, because mobile phone has a very negative effect on your aura. Okay, and then you hold the piece of shungite, and then they come towards you, and you should find that the aura will go back to how it was. Okay, so that's a kind of what we call a shungite test, to see how effective the shungite is. Okay, you can also buy shungite stickers, and if I can find my mobile phone, I'll put it down. Oh, here. Right, so there's my phone, and on the back of my phone I've got a protection sticker. Okay, and that's made out of shungite. A little bit of advertising for a company. It's a friend of mine called Cassie, who runs a company called Oraphim, ORAPHIM, and they sell these stickers. You get 3 for £8. So if you're interested, it's worth getting some shungite stickers to stick on the back of your phone. Okay, so I tend to use a pendulum most of the time these days. My rod work tends to be fairly limited to when I'm teaching, mainly because most of my house dowsing I do over a plan rather than actually go to people's houses. It's much easier. I can actually dowse any house in the world. I can dowse a house in Australia, South Africa, wherever. There's no need to actually be in the house. I've also found there are further problems with going to a house to dowse it. One of the problems is that the sofas and the walls get in the way, and I'm not very good at walking through walls. So I find you find an energy line, you're trying to follow it, and then you get a wall that's in the way, and then you have to find, well, what's on the other side of that wall? So it can be quite difficult. So it's much easier to work from a dowsing plan. Okay. Right. And the third course that we run is a course on energetics, and that covers things like attachments, psychic cords, psychic attack. You can actually dowse people's past lives. You can dowse their ancestry. You can dowse their auras. You can dowse their chakras, their meridians. You can even dowse their life plan. How many people know about soul planning, life planning? Something? Yeah, it's 1 or 2. Okay. So basically, we all come into our lives with a pre-life meeting, where you met all your planned associates, your parents, your children, your siblings, anybody else you were going to meet before you're born. You have this big meeting, and it's quite interesting to find out what actually happened at that meeting. Useful to know, isn't it? So that's another thing that you can dowse for. You can find out what you planned to learn for this lifetime, because that's all we're here to do, is to learn. And so that can all be dowsed as well. So all these things can be learnt in these various courses that I teach. Okay. So are there any questions?
I'm just wondering, obviously you offer these services.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the past lives and
Right.
ancestry, and this life plan sounds amazing. I mean, what,
yeah, so I can teach the energetics course online, like we're doing now. Okay, and I can teach the chart course online. The house course I can't teach online because there's too much involved with learning how to do remote dowsing.
But will you share your prices for doing the kind of?
Yes, I could do that. Yeah, for
all of
sure.
that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Thanks.
Okay. Just to mention that if we are based in Chester, so some of you might be too far away, but we're next March. I'll give you the date. So we're actually doing a beginner's course on the 3rd of March, and we're doing a house course the weekend of the 16th and 17th of March. Okay, that'll be here at my house in Chester. I've already got somebody coming from Warwickshire.
Chris, do you ever travel if there's a big enough group?
Yeah, absolutely would. Yes, no doubt about it. I did it once in Glossop and it worked very, very well. So there's no reason I couldn't do that again. For the beginners course, there is quite a lot of outdoor practicals. So we tend not to do the beginners course in the winter. But if I can get a group of 5 or 6 people, then yeah, I'm very happy to travel and teach it. Okay.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
You said, Chris, you were going to do a shutting down exercise.
I did, yeah. I was waiting till we all.
I wasn't sure if
how are we doing, Susie? I don't know how the timing going. Are we? I've no idea how long we've been nattering for. About an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Is everybody all right for the moment?
You're okay for now?
Yeah. That'd be lovely.
So are there any other questions before we just shut ourselves down?
I've made rods of mine with coat hangers too, but I put them in a test tube to hold them. So that worked quite well.
Yes. Okay.
I use a couple of big biro.
Right.
Yes, that would be even better, wouldn't it?
Okay. Can I recommend that you don't do that? The reason is because if you're outdoors, it's okay if you're indoors, but if you're outdoors and there's the slightest breath of wind, the rods just do you have absolutely no control over the rods at all. They're entirely useless.
Yeah, they aren't very good outdoors that way, no.
No. You actually need that little bit of friction in your hand to actually get them under control. I also find that if you hold them you need to hold them the right strength. If you hold them too tight, they just won't move at all. And if you hold them too loose, they'll just flop everywhere. Okay.
Okay.
Chris, do you hold them slightly pointing down as well, so that you've got a little
only
control?
if I've got a holder. If you haven't got a holder, you don't need. Yeah, that's the technique to get them slightly under. If you've got a holder, you need to point them downwards to get them to respond. You know, make sense. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't matter the material. Yeah, I didn't mention that. There's one or two. It doesn't matter what some people believe that you should use copper rods. There's absolutely nothing behind that at all. Okay. With pendulums, in fact, I would say a crystal is a bit dodgy because if the crystal gets dirty, then you might get inaccurate answers with your dowsing. Okay. Whereas if you've got an old conker or a piece of Play-Doh on a piece of cord, that's not going to get dirty. Do you see what I mean? So in a sense, you might be better off not using a crystal. I know that amethyst doesn't get dirty, so that's if you're going to use a crystal, I'd use amethyst. Okay. This is a black tourmaline one, but I'm regularly make sure it's clean. Okay.
Yeah. I've made this one here. I'm sorry.
No, go on, Brian.
Yes. I've made this one here. Can I see it? Oh, there
Yeah.
it is. I've made this out of a glass rod in the lab. And it's sitting in a thermometer head.
Oh,
And
very
it
good.
works really well because
Good.
it's got a sort of a thing on the top.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
swings beautifully. It's cheap and cheerful.
Fantastic. Oh, that's really good.
I was going to say, how about wood? Alan's got a wooden.
Right. Okay. I'm not so keen on wood. The reason is
Okay.
wood is very, very light. And you'll find that it's very hard to gauge a response because it's so light that it, unless it's a very big chunky piece of wood.
Quite chunky. It's
Yeah, that's quite, that's
Yeah.
quite, if it works for, I mean, there's no right or wrong. If it works
No,
for you and you're
no.
happy with it, then you just go with it, really. That's
so. Yeah, you saying amethyst would be the best one because mine is hematite, but that's probably not so good.
yeah, well, hematite will pick up negative energies,
Yeah.
but if you're accustomed to cleansing crystals, it's something you can do in seconds anyway. Just every time you pick up the pendulum, just check, is this still clean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is my thing too short? Because it's only about
If
what?
it works, it works. That's
Okay.
the fundamental rule of dowsing is whatever works, works. Okay.
Well, I never clean it either, you know.
Well, that's not a crystal, is it? So it's just a piece of glass.
That's quartz, I suppose.
That's quartz.
Well,
But there
glass
we
is glass, isn't it?
Yeah, well, amethyst is a type of quartz, and in fact, most quartzes are fairly immune to getting dirty anyway. So yeah, that's
What about shungite? Using the shungite because my pendant is shungite. I've used that before.
yes, shungite is great. Yeah, I mean, it depends. If it's intermediate shungite, then it will pick up. But if it's pure shungite, then if it's elite shungite, then no, it won't. Okay, but it's very difficult to make a pendulum out of elite shungite.
Yeah.
So when I was doing your initial test for back and forth and sideways or round in
Yes.
circles, mine went back and forth and across. So
Yes.
would the yes maybe then be the diagonal?
Your yes is whatever you want it to be. Okay.
So when you have the butt thing, so how does that? Does it go diagonal then across like it's all?
You have to find your own. If you haven't got the standard clockwise anti-clockwise system, you have to find your own yes buts and no buts within your own system. Okay. Either that or switch to the clockwise anti-clockwise system. As I say, your dowsing response is whatever you want it to be.
Yes,
okay?
that's true.
I would say there are dowsers who believe that you should always have yes for clockwise and no for anti-clockwise. I don't adhere to that. I tend to find people who are left-handed tend to have an anti-clockwise yes. But there's no right or wrong about it at all.
No, that's good to hear.
Can I just say, the last time I went to Australia, I actually took my pendulum with me, and I normally have clockwise for yes, anti-clockwise for no. And when I was in the Southern Hemisphere, it did it the other way around. It reversed.
That's right. That wouldn't apply to everybody. That's just you. I think it may be. I don't know if you know anything about polarity, but we all have a particular polarity, and it could be that your polarity switches when you go into the Southern Hemisphere. Okay, so if you have normal polarity, you actually do have clockwise for yes and anti-clockwise for no. Okay, that is the case. But if your polarity is switched, then that's the way it goes. Yeah, as I say, that would just be you. I don't think it would apply to everybody. Okay.
So I guess on that basis, then you would check it before you douse. You would just check what your situation is, or what?
It's no bad thing to just particularly when you're a beginner. If you're not done too much dowsing, I would always recommend check your yes and your no before you start. Okay.
Yeah.
I do find when I teach dowsing, a lot of people they say it worked fine when I was on the course, but when I got home, it didn't work. And that's a constant complaint. So that's why I just say, well, just keep practicing, and eventually you'll find it'll work. Okay. I know when I used the rods for the first time, I couldn't get them. Took me a week to get my rods to actually respond. Whereas most people, I find that they get them to work straight away, because I was very slow at learning how to use rods.
So when you come to do a session, would you ground yourself at the beginning as well as the end?
Yes, absolutely. Well, yes, if you're just doing a little dowsing session, yes. I mean, if you're just asking a quick question, like, you're in the supermarket, are these apples organic? Then, yeah, that brings me very neatly to what I promised I would do, is to talk about deviceless dowsing. Okay, so we've got time to do that, haven't we, Susie? Yeah,
I think so. Could I just ask
Yes.
one last question? Are you going to say in this, let's say you find a negative area in your home,
yes,
do you intend healing for it then?
yes, absolutely, yes.
Mm.
I work with an angel, okay? I have a particular guiding angel called Asmarath. It's my personal guiding angel, okay? I also work with a god called Thoth, and I also work with various archangels. So it's whoever feels like doing the help, at a particular time. I ask, who's gonna do this job for me today? Because I wouldn't have a clue how to heal an energy line. Okay, so it's my job is to find the energy line, and then I get my guides and helpers to actually do the cleansing for me. Okay, and we've all got guides, so we've all got helpers. How many of you read the book, Lorna Burns' lovely book, Angels in My Hair? Yes, a few. Okay, I do recommend that one. Lorna Byrne is an Irish lady who'd been seeing angels since she was a very small child. And she describes in her book, how she was considered to be mentally unstable and stupid, because she kept talking about all these angels she was seeing when nobody else could see them. And one of the things she mentioned in the book is that how there are so many unemployed angels out there, okay? Now, one of the rules with angels is that they will never help you unless you ask them. That's the sort of universal law of angels. So if you've got an angel and you've never asked for help, they've never helped you. Okay, so it's always a good idea to ask your angel for help. And if you find that you need an extra angel, you need like a personal angel, just ask one of these unemployed angels if they'd like to come and be your personal angel. I'm sure they'd absolutely love to. Okay, so that's yeah, so we've all got lots of helpers out there. Okay, we're not alone. Okay, right, does that cover that? Right, okay, so deviceless dowsing. How many of you have done kinesiology? One now, okay, 2, 3. So there's a few people, some people might know these are actually kind of kinesiology techniques, but it applies just as well. So can you all put your fingers, put 2 fingers, make a circle with one hand and put 2 fingers inside the circle. Okay, but when I say 2 fingers, so a thumb and a finger. Okay, so Lindy, that's it. Yeah, okay. So if you say, show me my yes, you should find it strong and you're actually able to stop yourself opening your fingers. Have you got that? Yeah. So if you say, show me my no, you'll find your fingers will open. Might take a bit of practice. Okay, so there's your yes, strong, no, weak. Okay, so in the supermarket, you could just do that quietly under the counter, or just yes or no there. Okay, that's one technique. Okay, there's another one which some people use, which is even easier, which is just simply to put one finger over the top of another one, okay? And ask yes. Yes should be strong. You can't, you actually can't flick your fingers. No, you can flick your fingers, okay? Another, it's not a system I use because I use a different method, but that is, I know my wife uses that method quite often. Okay, so it's a really, really simple method of dowsing. Okay, my personal method, I will say that I've yet to find anybody else this works for, but it may work for you. What I found was every time I got a yes, my shoulders would jump like that. So I thought, oh, well, maybe if I ask the question without dowsing, would my shoulders jump? And they do. So actually, that's yes, and not jumping is no. It's just really as simple as that. So what's today? Today's Wednesday, isn't it? No, Tuesday. So is today Tuesday? Yes. Is today Wednesday? No. Okay. Just as simple as that. So that's my, in fact, I use this just as much as I do a pendulum for a lot of my dowsing. The detailed work with house dowsing, yes, I'll use a pendulum all the time, but when I'm out and about, I tend to use my shoulders more than anything else. Okay. So that's deviceless dowsing. Any questions about that? Okay. Right. Okay. So unless there's any other questions, I think we'll close down. Okay. So closing down, you can either do this physically or just in your mind. Okay. So put your hands on your head. Okay. As I say, you can just do this in your mind if you want to. And now I want you to run your hands down your body and then touch the floor. Okay, and that's 3 times like that.
Can't you just visualize it?
That's what I say. You don't need to actually physically do it. Okay, yeah. Just create the intention.
Too far down. Get to the floor.
You need to be a little bit flexible. Yeah, you don't need to actually touch the ground if you can't. Just
Well, we could.
Like all dowsing, the intention is all powerful. Okay. Yes. So
I suppose it's like with any energy work, isn't it? Whether that's healing or whatever you're not, it's the intent, really.
Yes, the intention is everything. All your healing is going to be doing with intention, even if it's your guides and angels helping you. It's still all done with intention. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Intention is, I mean, I often say intention, when you die, all you're left with is your intention.
Fair point.
So you are your intention. Okay, that's absolutely super important. Okay, well, thank you ever so much. Shall I leave you to wrap up the meeting, Susie? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. That's been fascinating and a lovely introduction, I think, for everybody to, well, and a big recap perhaps for people who've done more. And it would be lovely to hear, you know, what courses you could do online or what you could do visiting and how many people you'd need and costs, and that would be really helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe set something.
If I send you an email with all that information on, you could send it on. Would that be okay?
Yes, that's great.
Lovely. Okay, I shall do that.
Could you also tell us where we can buy those things that you mentioned, the rods and
right? Okay.
And
the Shanghai stickers.
Right. Okay. So pendulums. And I didn't mention where you could buy pendulums anywhere, really. So, you know, they're sort of fairly universal. I particularly like these ones. These are, this is a black tourmaline, but it's kind of in plastic. I can send the link to these, okay? You can buy them on eBay, Etsy, one of those sort of things, okay? These are my favorites. You can buy for about $5, okay? So that, and they have different, amethyst, black tourmaline. There's quite a few different types of stones in those. And for me, the weight, the important thing with a pendulum is that the weight is right for you. Okay, if it's too heavy, you're doing a lot of dowsing, it gets very tiring. If it's too light, you're not really going to get a very clear answer. Okay, so the weight is more important than the material, in my opinion.
And Chris, where to buy the stickers for the phone?
Yes, that's Orifim. I'll just make a note. I'll put the link on the email I'll send to Susie, and then you can.
Thank you.
Okay. And the rods, I'll send a link to Ken's site if you're interested. He can supply direct. Okay. Ken Middleton. Okay.
That's
just a final. Thank you, Jen. Just a final thing to say. There is a national dowsing organization called the British Society of Dowsers. If you're interested, they have annual meetings, and there are also local dowsing groups in most parts of the world. There's a very, very good one. Most of you from Yorkshire, is that right?
quite a few.
Quite a few. Okay. Ridings Dowsers meets in a village about half an hour north of York, and I can't think what it's called off the top of my head. But if you Google Ridings Dowsers, you'll find that group. They meet about once a month. They have good regular meetings. They do out and about, so they do field courses. They have speakers, and they also do Zoom courses as well. So well, not courses, talks. So if you're interested, you can actually connect to their Zoom talks as well. There's several other good dowsing groups. Who lives in what other part of the world does anybody else live? No?
Cornwall,
Cornwall. There's
where you've got all the energy lines.
yeah, absolutely. Well, there are 3 dowsing groups in Devon, and at least 1 in Cornwall, if not 2. So you've got more dowsing groups in the southwest of England than anywhere else in the country. So you're well organized on that. If you go to the British Dowsers website, there's a section where all the affiliated groups are listed. But there are quite a few dowsing groups that aren't affiliated. We've just started a new dowsing group for Cheshire, and that's not brand new, so we're not affiliated yet. Okay. So yeah, we're worth looking at the British Dowsers website and following up local dowsing groups. You'll find them a lot of fun, learn an awful lot from them. Okay. If you are interested in our Frodsham group, Frodsham in Cheshire, our next meeting's on the 21st of January. Okay, so that's I don't think many of you are from around here.
No, not
okay,
me.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Chris, very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everyone.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Lovely meeting you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye.
Looking out.
Oh, that's good, wasn't it?
Right, Susie,
That's lovely.
brilliant. Okay, so I'll send you an email with all that information on. Okay, and we'll take it from there. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, that was very interesting.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.